2 big COP conferences back to back. How are you holding up?
Okay, thanks.
It's a lot.
It is a lot, especially now that we're hosting, which is...
With China.
With China, which is going really well, by the way. We have a really good collaboration on environmental issues and climate change and biodiversity.
And what's the likelihood we're going to have an agreement?
Very, very high level of probability we will get this agreement.
Even with the delegations walking out and things like that?
This is the United Nations. People sometimes vent.
Bonjour et bienvenue tout le monde. J'aimerais commencer par
Stephen Guilbeault, hosting the largest ever international negotiations on nature, a rare breed of politician. 20 years ago, he was hanging off the CN Tower in a Greenpeace stunt to save the Kyoto Protocol.
We felt that Canada could not go with George Bush and go back on its Kyoto promises.
Arrested back then and nearly charged in Alberta when activists installed solar panels on Premier Ralph Klein's roof.
You should embrace this. I mean, you shouldn't fear change.
For decades, he's been a stubborn voice at dozens of conferences and summits, pushing Canada to get ahead of climate change.
Our policies are not dictated by what's environmentally right. Our policies are dictated by the interest of a few.
Now, as cabinet minister, he's inside the room.
Thank you very much.
Minister, you're 1 year into your job. What's been the biggest challenge going from an environmental activist to a cabinet minister?
I think I knew when I decided to go into politics that I wouldn't win all my battles. I'm a father of 4. I never win all my battles at home. I wasn't expecting to be able, as a cabinet minister of a country of 38 million people, that I would win all my battles. So it's some decisions are tough to make.
Yeah, like the Baie du Nord,
of course.
oil drilling off Newfoundland.
Yeah.
Oil and gas are in the past. Oil and gas. We want climate justice. When do we want it? Now.
I mean, some of your former colleagues called you even a traitor for that.
Yes, some have.
But you've said in the past, over years, that the world can't afford more fossil fuels, and there you were signing an agreement for more fossil fuels.
That was really tough. I mean, that was by far the toughest decision I've had to make. Well, because personally, I believe that we have to stop investing in new fossil fuel projects. And the international community tells us we need to reduce our dependencies to fossil fuels, and we're doing a lot of things to do that. All the cars sold in Canada by 2035 will have to be zero-emission vehicles. We're imposing never seen before regulations on the oil and gas sectors. So we're doing things we've never done before in Canada to curtail both our pollution and our consumption of fossil fuels.
But at the last COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh, stark criticism that the final agreement did not do enough to phase out oil and gas production.
Your position has been a bit confusing about whether or not you support phasing out or phasing down oil and gas production in this country. Did you want it in the agreement?
Absolutely.
So just so I'm clear, so you're saying to Alberta and other provinces in this country that you want to reduce or get rid of fossil fuel production in this country?
What we're saying is that by 2050, all the production of fossil fuels will need to be carbon neutral. That's what unabated.
Right.
That's a commitment that Canada has made already domestically. I share the frustration. People would like to see change happen rapidly.
You told me in Egypt that you and many others were deeply disappointed that there weren't a more forceful approach to curbing greenhouse gas emissions. So if we're not curbing emissions fast enough, then how is this going to change?
Well, we are in Canada, certainly. We are.
But our record is poor on emissions.
Since 2019, our emissions have started going down. And
still high.
Well, people have to understand that we're transforming the society and the economy of 38 million people. Many of the things we're doing are transformative. The sale of electric vehicles on Canadian roads have doubled in the last 2 years. Coal is on the way out. Hello everyone, my name is Stephen Guilbeault. I'm Minister of Environment and Climate Change for Canada.
Year 1 in the job, and Guilbeault has attracted international media, featured in The Guardian, on German radio, and recently in a podcast for the New York Times.
Minister Stephen Guilbeault, savior or sellout?
But he's taking heat for some government decisions.
Stephen Guilbeault was shoulder to shoulder with us in 1997 in Kyoto.
Recently, David Suzuki told the CBC that environmentalists had celebrated Guilbeault's rise to cabinet.
But right away, he's constrained because Poilievre is coming up and, they've got to say certain things. It prevents Guilbeault, who knows very well what the problem is, from doing the right thing.
Is that fair?
I have a lot of admiration for Mr. Suzuki. I've known him for a very long time. I think we are doing a lot more, but it's not enough. And we're proceeding on an unprecedented rate, but we need to keep going at it faster and faster.
I looked at the pictures of you scaling the CN Tower this week. You're not going to scale the Peace Tower. You said you came into politics to continue to be an activist, but how can you be an activist within the structure that you're working with cabinet, with government, with opposition, with not everybody agreeing with you in government?
The tactics that I use are different than when I was an environmental activist. My activism and my determination to do everything we can in Canada to be the best that we can on environmental issues, on climate change, on nature, that hasn't changed.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.